It's Megan. Welcome to my corner of the interwebs. Today I'm here to talk about books and the ones I read in October and 4 books that I plan on reading in November. I'm recording with my headphones again because I have a teeny tiny voice and a terrible microphone. So sorry. I read 9 or 10 books in October. Most of them were 5-star reads. Yay. 3 books I got from the library and I've already returned to them. So I'm going to talk about those first. And I'll put a picture of them here if I can. If I can't, then this means nothing. Okay, the first book I read this month was my 1 or 2 star read. I gave it 2 stars because it's my own fault that I didn't like it, and that is Mary's Monster by Lita Judge. It is a nonfiction biography. Biography is a stretch of the word, about Mary Shelley. I gave it 2 stars instead of 1 because it's my own fault that I didn't like it. I didn't actually open the book in the library and realize that it didn't have a lot of content and it was just like art with little snippets of information about Mary Shelley. I didn't enjoy reading it. I regretted wasting space on my library. My cat broke something. I regretted wasting space on my library card to read this book, but I read it because it's the 200th anniversary of Frankenstein and it's done now. I read it. The second book is when I swapped out another nonfiction on my TBR to read this, and that was The Royal Art of Poison by Eleanor Herman. Guys, this book was good. It's about historical poisoning with mercury and lead, intentionally or non-intentionally, with makeup or murder, throughout all of history. Italian, medieval, my cat's up to no good. But she's really humorous and morbid, obviously, in how she depicts how people used poisons and how people would poison themselves, usually the upper class of society. And she goes into, later on in the book, the second half of the book is potential poisoning cases throughout history and when people have recovered the bodies of suspected poison victims and whether or not they can determine whether these people were poisoned intentionally, accidentally, or just died of like ruptured bowels. But yeah, it was a really good read. She was funny. If you like morbid hi Katie. If you like morbid nonfiction, then I think, excuse you, then I think you should check it out. It was good. I think it's a new release. I think it came out last month. But yeah, The Royal Art of Poison by Eleanor Herman. The third book that I read from the library, I am the only person that hasn't read this book, that is Furyborn by Claire Legrand. I wound up giving this book a 5 out of 5 stars, which I did not think I was going to do because I thought this book was just going to be hype, and it wasn't. This covers 2 young women in different centuries. One is a blood queen, one is a sun queen. One is going through trials to prove that she is the Sun Queen and that she's going to fight for her kingdom, because whether or not she is the Sun Queen or the Blood Queen will determine the fate of the kingdom and whether or not it descends into darkness. It's a great story. I didn't think I was going to like reading the 2 different point of views because I did not like 3 Dark Crowns. I don't like that storytelling. Totally different author though. I was really happy with reading this book. The prologue kind of gave it away for me. Like, I kind of knew what was going to happen. I kind of knew who everybody was, but it didn't take away from the story at all. If you haven't read Furyborn, check it out. I'm really excited to read the next in the series. I think that comes out in May. And I kind of want to read Sawkill Girls now, even though it doesn't look like the type of book I read. I really did like Claire Legrand's writing, so I'm going to check that out. And those are the 3 books that I read that I have given back to the library. Now, for the books that I read that are actually mine. It was October, guys, and that means that your girl read some spooky books. The first one is Pet Sematary by Stephen King. This is the hotter edition. I love these editions. I only have like 6 of these. I want more, but they're expensive, and your girl is broke. This is my first time reading Pet Sematary. I've seen the movie. I didn't like the movie. I'm excited for the remake. Anyway, that doesn't matter. The book is good. It follows this family that moves into a new house in a town. They have a pet cat. The pet cat dies. A neighbor shows them where to bury their cat, and chaos ensues from there. It's Stephen King. You know what Pet Sematary is about. The dead come back to life. Bad happens. And I wound up giving this 5 out of 5 stars, which I didn't think I would because the movie from the 80s left a bad taste in my mouth. But that's just movies like that. I'm not a fan of Stephen King movies. except for like The Green Mile and Shawshank and The Langoliers. Wow, I'm lying. I do like Stephen King movies. I don't like a lot of Stephen King horror movies. I think they could be done better. But 5 out of 5 stars for Pet Sematary. 3 or 4 stars for Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Maniscalco. I was super excited to read this, and I was so disappointed. Hunting Prince Dracula follows our daring duo from Stalking Jack the Ripper, Thomas and Audrey Rose. They're vying for one of 2 spots in a school for mortuary science in Bram Stoker's castle, because of course it's in Bram Stoker's castle. And on their way there and during their stay, murder is afoot. Murder most foul. And people in the town start to suspect that Dracula has risen from the dead and that there are vampire slayers among them, because these murders look like they've either been killed by a vampire or by a vampire slayer. And about 200 pages into the book is when Thomas and Audrey Rose start looking into these murders more seriously. So it was about 200 pages until anything really happened for me. This book was disappointing. I'm still gonna read Escaping Houdini because I did like the first book so much, and I still do like Thomas a lot. I find Audrey Rose really annoying because most of this book I just felt like I was being force-fed. I'm a strong, independent female, but I like this guy, but I'm a strong, independent female. So much that it took away from the immersion of the story. Just like they're like flirting. Their flirting was a little like too campy. Like the first book, their flirting was charming. Thomas was charming. He was just like, hey, I'm super smart and I like you. And she's like, oh, I'm super independent, but I guess I kind of like you too. This book is just like, oh, we almost got murdered. Let's flirt. Oh, we see dead people. Let's flirt. Oh, we're trapped and probably about to die. Let's flirt. It got a little ridiculous. It took away from the immersion for me. It was a while until anything really happened to move the story along for me. And I don't know, like some of the scenes towards the end of the movie were really creepy and really well described and really like, but I didn't like this book nearly as much as I liked Stalking Jack the Ripper. I'm not running out to get Escaping Houdini. I'm gonna wait for the paperback. So 3 or 4 out of 5 stars, maybe 3. Yeah, I think 3 stars. Like, read it if you liked Stalking Jack the Ripper, but it's not like a rush to go get it. The next book, I'm just going to do these 2 at the same time. Frankenstein, I'm not going to synopsize. We all know Frankenstein. We all love Mary Shelley. I read this, followed by The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. This follows Elizabeth Lavenza as she tries to maintain her place in the Frankenstein household by maintaining a relationship with Victor Frankenstein as he's disappeared to go study and do Victor Frankenstein things. This book was very dark. It was a really good retelling. Essentially, this is like fan fiction for Frankenstein, and it wasn't what I was expecting. I am officially now a Kirsten White fan. I can't wait for Slayer now, just because this book was so good and so much better than I thought it was going to be. We really get to see the development of Elizabeth and how she's this dark, manipulative character, and I really liked her. I did a review on this book. If you want to take like 6 minutes to watch it, I'll link it below. The next book I read was another spooky book, and that is Horror Store. It took me like 2 years to pick this book up. We all know Horror Store. This is the book that looks like an IKEA catalog. The format of this book is so cool. In the beginning, you get like pictures of furniture, and the further you go in the book and the creepier the story gets, the more messed up the pictures get. I work retail, and sometimes I work retail at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that made this book even more terrifying. This is a ghost story, so don't take it too seriously. You're not going to be like traumatized reading it, but it is gory. It is way gorier than I expected it to be, and it is way better than I thought it was going to be. This is another 5 out of 5 stars for me. Like, October was full of 5 out of 5 stars. Everything but the Dracula book and Mary's Monsters was 5 stars. This was great. Recommend. Perfect October book. I know October's over, but if you're in the mood for like scary ghost story horror with some gore, this is really good, and the format's just so cool. This is, and then another ghost story I picked up, City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. This is a middle grade ghost story that takes place in Edinburgh. A girl that is sensitive to spirits that lives in the United States is taken across the pond with her parents when they are hired to film a ghost hunting show. They don't know she is sensitive to spirits, but she is, and while she's in Edinburgh, she learns that all spirits aren't as nice as the ones she's used to where she's from in her hometown. This was a cute little ghost story. I appreciated it. I don't read middle grade. That's not something I float to, but it was Halloween. I wanted a little Halloween-y book, and it has a cat. And everything's better when there's a cat. I've never read anything by Victoria Schwab, middle grade, young adult, or adult. This made me excited to read A Darker Shade of Magic. Still not excited to read Vicious. That doesn't sound like fun for me. But this was a cool little ghost story. I appreciated this, and I recommend anybody check it out if they want a really quick ghost story, just for the sake of ghost story. It was sweet. It was a cute story. And then, like everybody else on BookTube, I have read Kingdom of Ash. Guys, it's over. I'm so sad. I'm not going to give out any spoilers for this book. I'm not going to talk about this book because it's 1,000 pages, and I know most people have not finished it because this book took over my life for about 3 days. So for the first few chapters, Aelin is stuck in a box, and once you get past that, this book is hundreds of pages of war and magic, and you're going to have many moments where you're upset and crying and not wanting to put the book down because you want to find out what's going to happen to your favorite characters, because I know that's what happened to me. There was one point where I was really upset that I had to go to work because one of my favorite characters was in trouble. Anyway, this has some fan service thrown in that I really appreciated. I think anybody that likes Sarah J. Maas will appreciate it. I know there's some hate around her writing style because it's very tropey, it's very, basic fantasy. But this is the book that got me back into reading fantasy. This is the series that got me back into it, so I'm not going to hate. Sarah J. Maas has a special place in my heart, and I'm so sad to see it end, guys. I was happy with the ending after I had like 50 heart attacks throughout the book. Very stressful read, guys, but very, very glad I was able to pick it up on release day, and very happy I got it out of my system. Now I just have to read them all over again, because that's what you do. So those are the books that I read in October. Now, if you're interested, stay around and I will tell you the 4 books that I'm most definitely reading in November. I'm obviously going to read more than these 4 books, but last month my TBR kind of squished me and forced me to read books that I wasn't really in the mood for. So this month I'm only picking 4, one for each week that I'm definitely going to get through. Let me just pick them up. I'm a mess. I'm a mess. So the first book I'm going to read is Shadow of the Fox. This is a story, Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. This follows, I think their names are Yumiko and Tatsune. Yumiko is a kitsune, she is a half fox girl, and she is protecting a dragon scroll, which every 1,000 years a dragon appears and grants a wish to the bearer of these scrolls, who will recite a prayer 1,000 times, or 1,000 prayers. And whatever they wish will determine either the enlightenment of humanity or the dark descent into evil for the next 1,000 years of humanity. So she's protecting the scroll, and a secret assassin named Tamiko, I think, I could be getting these names wrong, is helping her because he's supposed to collect the scroll because he's been hired to get the scroll back and give it to someone that has hired him. So it's these 2 characters, you're following them. This essentially reads like an anime. This is great. I really like this. The first chapter turned me off so much. I was so just, oh no, I picked up a book that is nothing but tropes. Oh God, I wasted my money. Oh God, what have I done? Oh God, I have to read this because I spent money on it. And I read the second chapter and I was like, okay, I take back everything I said. This is great. This is an awesome book. I'm almost done with it. And I just started reading it this morning. I have like 20 pages left. So I don't really know if I can still count it as a November TBR because it's only November 3rd. I'm counting it. There are only 4 weeks in November. Shadow of the Fox, Julie Kagawa. I'm almost done with it. I already like it. Read it. Read it. It's based on Japanese folklore. You probably got that from my terrible pronunciation of the names. So there's that. The next book I'm going to read, I have to read like tomorrow because I have to give it back to the library, and that is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I'm still not 100% sure what this book is about, but everybody loves it. It's an epic fantasy with a female lead, and I need to jump on this because everybody I know that has read this book loves this book. I'm excited to read it. I'm excited to see if I'm going to jump in on a new series, and we'll just see where it goes. This is another book based on Japanese folklore, and I'm jumping in on it. The next book I'm going to read in November is Mageborn, Born to be Feared, Born to be Hated. I'm just going to read the back of this because my synopsizing is garbage. So, Habriel believes eradicating magic is the only way to ensure lasting peace. He will do anything to achieve his goal, even if it means murdering every child born with magical ability. As a series of mysterious deaths place the seed of magical learning under suspicion, 2 students and 1 lawbringer must do everything they can to combat Habriel and his followers before magic disappears from the world for good. So we're back on a basic, like, good versus bad, magic versus people that don't want magic. We're back on this bandwagon, but I'm excited because I think this is going to focus more on the bad guy, and I love me a villain that is, he's slaughtering children, guys. Like, and I think we're following him. I'm really excited to read this book. I picked this up a couple months ago in Barnes & Noble, and it's just been sitting on my shelves, like, mocking me for not reading it. So I want to read this, so when the second book comes out, I can be ready. So this is Mageborn by Stephen Arion. Excited to read it. And the last book that I am definitely, without any excuse, reading in November, so I could read the second book in the duology at the beginning of December, is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I am one of the only 5 people on the planet that hasn't read this book, and I need to jump on this bandwagon. So I'm going to read this the 4th week of November. This is about Laszlo Strange and his city of Weep, which is lost, and he's trying to find his way to Weep and all the magic that entails. I know nothing. Everybody knows more about this book than me, but I'm jumping on it. Everybody loves it. I want to be included, so I'm going to read this the last week of November. So the 1st week of December, I can read Muse of Nightmares. If anybody wants to read this the last week of November with me, let me know, because I can't be the only person that hasn't read this. I know a couple of you have commented on my last video that you haven't read this either, so if you want to join me and read this at the end of the month, hit me up and we'll read it together. We'll do like 150 pages a day or 100 pages a day, just so we can knock it out and motivate each other to get it done, because I want to jump on this bandwagon. I'm excited. Alright, so that is my October wrap up and my November TBR, very loose TBR. I'm not doing what I did last month and just like forcing myself to read stuff I'm not in the mood for, but those are 4 that I definitely want to read, and 1 that I have to, because I have to give it back to the library. So thank you for watching this and being patient. I hope you can hear me. Like, I need to fix this microphone situation because I have a teeny tiny voice and terrible headphones, and my microphone is garbage. So thanks for watching. Come back for my next video. You can see more of my cat. He's exciting, even if I'm not. If anybody else is interested in reading any of the books I'm reading in November, or if you read any of the books I talked about from October and you want to talk with me about them, just hit me up in the comments down below. I'm always down to talk about books. So thanks for watching again. Give me a like so I feel less terrible about spending time recording this. And I'll see you next time. Bye.